Rid of your monoculture lawn. Monoculture lawns will destroy the world, and they
Let's
look
move on to
stupid.
Act 3,
What is it, a
shall
golf
we? Let me
course?
take the wheel.
Wow.
Going Die Hard,
You're gonna have
Huckabees.
to here because I don't even know if I can talk about this movie for 5 minutes, and I'm not joking. I have nothing, almost nothing to say.
I'm honestly in that wheelhouse with you.
And
This film,
let me throw down an opening here quick. One, this movie is not about environmentalism. It's about existentialism and boring
yes.
existentialism. It's like, does anything
Okay.
matter? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. It's like, okay. Is this like the first
Okay.
day of
Okay.
philosophy
Hold,
class or
hold
something?
your
Like,
hold your thoughts because you're gonna become a runaway
yeah,
rail train. I know you. All right. You're
yeah,
gonna just
yeah,
start
yeah.
running off
I'm
tangent.
gonna
I won't get a
Southland
word
Tales
in.
this
So
shit.
hold your fucking tongue for 2 fucking seconds, won't you?
You
All
go.
right. So here's how it's gonna go. I need to put a small disclaimer. I thought this was a film about environmentalism because I was looking for films about environmentalism post 2000. My initial picks were going to be Snowpiercer, but we both seen it. I was thinking
Good movie.
Wally, but it felt a little too on the nose. I should have gone
Never
with
seen
that
it.
one. I was also considering Okja, which is a Bong Hoon Joe. It's a Korean film on Netflix, but it's more about animal
I
cruelty and
love your
agriculture.
recovery there.
So it,
It's a Korean film.
just put me on blast. Um, so these were films I probably should have picked over this because I thought basically my point is post 2000 there are very few fictional films about environmentalism
And that's
that were
crazy
worth watching.
because
Very
that
like
crisis has only
very
gotten
few.
worse. That's crazy. That
You-
shows you how the
Like
corporate world is controlling movies, man. They don't want the
less
truth
less than
spoken.
10. Like
You know what? And
legitimately
that's
less
probably
than 10.
why Don't Look Up had the impact that it had. Because it was the first
You know
movie
what?
ever to actually point out how we're killing the planet, you know?
And that would have been top on the list, but we both seen it, obviously. But like to give you an idea, I believe here. So one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine, 10, 11. There are less than 15 movies post the year 2000, full length, feature length movies, mind you, uh,
That's
about
crazy.
about
That's the saddest
environmentalism.
stat I've ever heard
I could
regarding movies. I can't believe
uh,
movies have given up on the cause, man.
probably
It's no
the
wonder I
the
love
top film,
Medicine Man. It's the last time anyone gave a
the
shit,
top.
apparently.
Yeah, so I thought this list was so short it was incomplete, so I looked for other ones, and I heard Huckabees was on a list of environmental films with much see. So I was like, okay, this looks fun. I watched the trailer, um, which we're
A
gonna
lot of
check
good
out in a second.
actors.
But
You
I'm
get
just
your Lily Tomlin, let me throw this up. You get your Jason Schwartzman. So here's the thing. I'll get into that sec. Jude Law, who hit or miss for me. Lily Tomlin's great. Dustin Hoffman's great. Mark Wahlberg just plays Mark Wahlberg and everything. Um, just like angry Bostonian, essentially. That's the character he plays. Um, and Jason
as
Schwartzman,
the
here's the
film goes.
thing. I like Jason Schwartzman, but Jason Schwartzman, he's the guy who artsy directors hire to try to legitimize their movie. So as soon as I see Jason Schwartzman's the star of something, I'm like, rap. This movie is gonna be a just disjointed mess, and the director's gonna call it art, and I'm supposed to love it, and I won't.
Yeah, he's
That
he's he's a
that's
very atypical character. Let's just watch the trailer here to get a refresher. So,
There's an
Have you
environmentalist
ever
in it. That's
transcended
where
space
Murphy
and
was led
time?
astray.
Time, not space.
I
No, I
thought
don't know what
this
you're talking
this
about.
this little intro is what sold me. I was like, okay, this could be a fun film. But yeah, we got Mark Wahlberg here, and Jason Schwartzman character who are environmentalists trying to defend a marsh or a forest. They don't make it quite
Very, very
clear.
good.
No, it's a marsh.
Robert,
They
my
keep
friend
saying
goes to the
marsh.
philosophical club. You
They
mean the
say marsh,
ex-social
but they also
detectives?
talk about a forest.
What kind of investigation?
Existential.
You'll spy
Yes.
on me.
Yes.
Will you be spying on me in the
So
bathroom?
the only funny joke in this movie that I found
What are you doing
was
here,
the
Brad?
fact that the only thing they've managed to protect is this one rock, so they have it like cordoned off.
Yeah.
We've saved this rock. It's like, all right, but it's like this movie actually pokes fun at environmentalism and environmentalists. It's
Yes,
not on the
and
cause.
that's
This is the opposite of what the last two movies were.
it is, and honestly, it's sort of
You'd
an
have to be a
odd
jerk to
little
write this
excellent
movie.
cap off.
And guess what? The guy who wrote this movie, there's some controversy behind the scenes, is kind of a jerk.
Yeah, apparently
Like
there's a
psychotically
scene
so.
apparently there's like a big scene between Lily Tomlin and David O. Russell in this
I watched
film.
it.
They had an argument. Oh yeah. Also, you see Jonah
He's
Hill there.
definitely
This is,
being
like, the
insane.
first
If I was
film.
on set, I probably would have knocked him out for getting up in like an older woman's face like he wasn't throwing shit.
Yeah.
Someone should have dropped him on the
Um,
spot, man.
like Dustin Hoffman was rolling, but yeah.
Yeah,
So let's get
Dustin Hoffman was the one saving grace in this movie, I think.
So let's get in the plot. All right, here's the synopsis, the TLDR of I Heart Huckabees from the film 2004, an independent black comedy film directed and produced by David O. Russell, who co-wrote the screenplay with Jeff Bana. A self-described existential comedy, I Heart Huckabees, follows a pair of detectives, Dustin Hoffman and Lily Tomlin, hired to investigate the meaning of life of their clients. Their clients being Jude Law, Jason Schwartzman, Mark Wahlberg, and Naomi Watts. So these four people. As the different investigations cross paths, their rival and nemesis, Isabella Hooper, tries to drag their clients into her own views of the meaning of their lives, which is more of a chaotic, destructive thing. But ultimately, the film is about four people's existential crisis masked by their minimal efforts of environmentalism that is ultimately marked by showcasing the diluted efforts of the Western culture to take environmentalism seriously and more of how they can market it with Shania Twain and shopping malls. And
This is such
just
an egotistical
basically
movie.
sell out environmentalism. And yes, it is a
You know,
very egotistical movie.
it's
It
cynical
was
and
so
it
hard to
pokes fun at
follow.
anything worth talking about. It's friggin' terrible. And
If
I'm
anything,
not
it's
gonna
a
I'm gonna
nice.
try not to rant, but like this is just another Southland Tales to me, where I feel like the person who wrote it, directed it, was just like a massive egoist, and this was just their vanity project. She's like, and that
For the most
another
part.
way you can tell another tell for these movies, and why I shrugged after having just watched Southland Tales. I'm like, every time some film appears artsy but has like a million big names in it, that's another bad sign, man. It's just
Yeah,
again
there's so many actors.
it's just feeding the ego. It's like, oh, I can hire Lily Tomlin and Dustin Hoffman, and they'll be in my stupid ego movie. And like, oh man, this is not a
It
good
was a
movie. So
very oddly
I
paced,
must be
oddly
confused.
edited
I don't know
film.
how you can like Southland Tales and not like this movie. They're the same type of garbage.
No, because Southland Tales is at least entertaining to a degree. Like there can be fun,
It moves
entertaining.
faster, but that's about it.
It moves faster,
And it's also an
and
hour
there's
longer.
it is an hour longer, but honestly, out of the two films, Southland Tales felt way faster and more entertaining than I Heart Huckabees. I watched this film and I paused it for a second. I was like, how much longer is this? Another 40 minutes? Woof. And I watched that 40 minutes and it
Wow.
just dragged and dragged.
Oh
And
yeah,
and it
man.
was like it felt like it's like as the movie starts with Jason Schwartzman's character, then it ultimately leads into Jason Schwartzman and Mark Wahlberg's character, who Mark Wahlberg's character is like a firefighter who can't figure it out anymore. They're both broken-hearted human beings, and they figure out that their ultimate moment of no longer being existential is when they find people to basically bone. One for Jason Schwartzman being the mean antagonist for Lily Tomlin's character and Dustin Hoffman's, and it's all sort of like connected with this African man that Jason Schwartzman's seen 3 times, which is why he hires the detectives, which leads,
Coincidences. He wants them to investigate
yeah,
his coincidences. And they're like,
the
we don't care about
coincidences that
those.
happen. And there's very like thin, like weave together coincidences that keep it all together. It turns out like the African man is the doorman to his parents' building or whatever. The guy invites Jason Schwartzman and Mark Wahlberg over for dinner, where you're introduced like to Jonah Hill's character, which apparently this is his first film, like on career record. This is his first film ever,
He looks older
and
than
that's
he does in
because
Superbad. Weird.
yeah, apparently what happened, and this is we're gonna get just a slight little movie morsel. So, apparently Dustin Hoffman's son met Jonah Hill at like an arcade or something, and he really liked him. He's like, "You should meet my dad." And Jonah Hill's like, "Oh, meet your dad." And he's like, "Yeah, come on over." Jonah Hill goes over to have dinner, and it turns out it's Dustin Hoffman. Dustin Hoffman was so enamored with him, he asked the producer to give him a role, and there he is. Jonah Hill's now in this movie.
So, like to start.
Um, so like, yeah, it's just it's a very much like the editing, it's disjointed and disconnected, and
So
it's hard
disjointed.
to it's a little
Like you
hard to
thought Medicine
follow.
Man had no plot. This has no plot.
No, and that's the thing. It's like the scale of good movies went boom. Soylent Green, Medicine Man was okay, and then like Higher Huckabees. I'm just like, what am I
So
watching right
tough.
now? Like
Yeah.
it was Jason Schwartzman and Jason Schwartzman, Jude Law doing his best to keep the role together. Um, like hit like to
He's
the
right.
best degree. Naomi Watts playing this role of
She's another one though. I don't think I've ever liked a movie I've seen her in. But, yeah.
I'm sure there's something I've seen Naomi Watts that I didn't mind or hate, ultimately. What were some of the notes that I had for this? The body bag scenes were super weird and whacked. I found the editing ultimately was odd. The thing about Mark Wahlberg's character I found is
He's playing himself.
he's not quite playing himself, really. It honestly feels more like it feels more like he's playing Chris Pratt. Like I could put Chris Pratt in this role and there would be no difference. Like that's what it felt like to me.
Except for
Like Chris Pratt
Chris Pratt's a little more
circa
like has a little more likability and charm.
yeah, and
But
honestly, if Chris Pratt was in the role, it
would
probably
have
would
been
have been
better.
played off more. Yeah, it would have been better. Um the weirdest scene that I found to be in this movie was so through all these like nightmare scenes that Schwartzman keeps trying to like basically he I guess we entirely haven't explained it, but Schwartzman's character is trying to run this committee to protect the Martian swampland. But Jude
Environmentalism
Law's
committee. Yeah.
character is from the Huckabee Company, and he's trying to put Schwartzman out. And it ultimately becomes a sort of tug and war where Schwartzman gets revenge on Jude Law's character by tearing it down all the things he's built, setting his jet skis on fire, getting his girlfriend to basically almost die in said fire and be rescued by Mark Wahlberg's firefighter character, where they then fall in love
She starts wearing a
because
bonnet and he doesn't like her anymore.
yeah, she starts wearing the bonnet and doesn't like her anymore, and it just like
She's
leads
like,
to
"Do you
all
love
this
me?" He's like,
stuff.
"I think I do." She's like, even with the bonnet, he's just like,
Like Jude Law's, yeah, he's very superficial, and the only thing he ever has is to talk about the Shania Twain story, and he tells it a
yeah.
couple times, but they don't
They
highlight it.
name drop Shania Twain like 50 times in this movie. They keep
Yeah,
going on about
yeah.
Shania Twain.
Um, anytime Jonah Hill was on screen, he soaked up like basically every second of it. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, so ultimately they fail in their efforts. They save the marshland by selling half of the forestry and the forest land, and by doing that,
Yeah.
that pisses off all of the investors because they think the forest land's more important than the marshland, even though they're idiots because it's all very important. Um,
Swampland
and
had no biodiversity.
yeah, and ultimately, I can't even entirely remember how this movie ended, and I only stopped watching it like about an hour or so ago. So it's just like,
Immediately forgot the entire movie.
yeah,
The medicine man, that sticks with me.
I legitimately can't remember the end of this film. Like
Neither.
all I remember is Mark Wahlberg and Naomi Watts get together. Jason
Yeah.
Schwartzman, I think he goes back to the Rock to hit himself in the face with a rubber ball. And that's kind of what this movie felt like to me. It felt like I was hitting
Hitting yourself
myself
in
in
the
the face
face.
with a rubber ball. Yeah.
Agreed.
Like it wasn't much. And that's just kind of the movie. I think we can move beyond the plot storytelling. The scenes
Any
that
scenes
hold
you would
up.
hold up for me? There isn't. Other than the fact that Dustin
Um,
Hoffman is a charming actor, so like when he's on screen talking, you pay attention, and then I just tune out the rest.
the ones I don't know if it really holds up, but it's gonna
Not a
stay
scene,
in
I
my
guess. That's a
friggin'
performance.
brain forever. The one scene that stuck out of this entire film that I was just like, "Whoa, what the fuck was that?" And I wanted to get a screen capture of it, but I couldn't find one. I couldn't find it on Google. Um, but it's about in the third act of the film where Jason Schwartzman's having his like huge breakdown, and I forget if it was Dustin Hoffman was telling him how his relationship with Jude Law's Brad character is like this mother-loving relationship to some degree, and he has this weird flash where Jude Law has tits and he's breastfeeding Jason Schwartzman, and Jason Schwartzman just like gets off the tits and he's like, "Wah!" And that was just like this really random fucking scene all of a sudden in the film. I will never forget that scene. Just the shot of Jason
Yeah,
Schwartzman sucking on Jude Law's big fake titties. It is a sight to behold. Um,
it's
that
artsy.
yeah,
So I guess I didn't even
I
hold up
don't
a
even know
scene.
if
I just
it's
held up a performance. But so I say Dustin Hoffman. He
yeah.
was good.
Dustin Hoffman held up the performance. Jude Law held up the performance. I kind of like the intro scene with Lily Tomlin and Schwartzman, where like she asks them, like, "Have you ever
Yeah.
traveled through time and space?" But there's not much beyond that. There's no meat to any of the
This is the
scenes.
scene
They're
they're
all just
filming actually when Buddy freaks out behind the scenes because she's sitting at that desk and he
yeah.
starts throwing shit at her.
They're just empty, hollow scenes, much like a lot of the performances. Mark Wahlberg kind of holds it together, but it's just not. Just doesn't do it for
There's
me.
not a lot here.
Yeah,
The
it's not a
setting
lot
aesthetic,
here at all.
nothing stands out for me. I would probably give that
It's
a
LA.
pass too. Yeah,
Yeah, it's LA. It
it's all
feels
kind of just
it's
ugly
an
and not
LA
memorable.
Jason Schwartz movie. There's nothing dynamic to it. It's all like just even lighting. Like it's this bland. It's bland. It's
Yeah.
bland. It's boring.
For an artsy movie, there was no art put into the setting aesthetic.
Dude, the most artistic thing were the dream sequence edits, which were bad clip art editing that like
Yeah, I didn't
a
like
high
those.
school teenager could do. It was
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah. This is a bad movie. That guy had no right to ever get aggressive with Lily Tomlin because he sucks. Um,
Yeah.
Movie morsels with Murphy.
Yeah, final movie morsels with Murphy. I was going to play the cutscene, but I forgot where I put it. I'm just going to say whatever. Fine. We're just going to move on. You know, you've seen it. Final movie morsels for this kind of atrocious film. So oddly, there was a few more than what we had with Medicine Man. So, as said earlier, it's Jonah Hill's first performed scene, and he was introduced through Dustin Hoffman's family connections. In one scene, Tommy Harangues, the open spaces. Oh, Harag harangues harass. I'm just going to say harasses. Harasses is a good word. In one scene, Tommy harasses the open spaces group. You have children in your own
Oh,
community.
the word you're thinking of is harangues.
Harangues? Oh, yeah, harangues. I see it now. Tommy harangues the open sources group. You have children in your own community who are going to prison. Father Flavin doesn't have the money to help them. The unexplained reference is to James Flavin, a Boston area priest who
Flavin.
found Mark Wahlberg. Flavin,
Flavin.
a Boston area priest who found Mark Wahlberg selling drugs on a street corner in 1987 and turned him from a life of crime and remains Wahlberg's good friend and advisor. Shania Twain's participation in the movie came about because Jude Law wrote her a letter asking for her to take part.
Yeah, used to be a fan.
And it became
She was big
a
stuff
driving plot
back in
point.
like 2004.
For the role that Naomi Watts played, the following actresses were asked and whatnot.
I hope they all turned it down.
Gwyneth Paltrow was originally attached to star as Dawn Campbell, but dropped out due to the death of her father. Nicole Kidman then attached herself to the project, but could not fit in the movie due to her
Jeez, he had a
schedule
type he
for
wanted, didn't he?
for the
Naomi
Stepford
Watts and
Wives.
friggin' oh my
Yeah,
god.
at that point, Jennifer Aniston was looked at for the part until finally Naomi Watts, David Russell's original choice, was a lock. Um, 4 fictional websites were created for marketing the film, including ones for the Huckabees
Huckabees.
Corporation, and an official website for the film's fictional chain store, and Jaffe and Jaffe, the existential detectives, or Jaffe and Jaffe. I don't remember how they pronounce their last names. This was one of the first films to be shot with Panavision's 40 to 80 millimeter AWZ2 anamorphic wide-angle zoom lens.
What a
At the
waste.
time of filming, the lens was
But
just
he
a
used that
prototype.
to great effect in Medicine Man.
Yeah, it would not be formally introduced until 2006. So I mean, that's probably the most interesting tidbit to this movie, is the fact that it was used as a test lens, and this movie does feel like a test film, almost like a school film in
I
some
actually
way.
think the only lasting effect this movie has had is that whole behind the scenes drama between the director and Lily Tomlin. That's what people talk about now when they talk about this movie.
This is Dustin Hoffman and Lily Tomlin's first movie together. Although the two of them were original choices for Popeye and Olive Oil in the 1980 Popeye, which could
Oh
have been an
wow.
interesting
And that ends
trend.
up going to Duvall and Williams.
Yep.
Shelley
An
Duvall,
existential
Evan Williams.
detective couple is featured in Thomas Pynchon's 1990 novel of Vineland. One of the 6 films, this is one of the 6 films Jude Law appeared in 2004, with the others being The Aviator, Alfie, Closer, Sky Captain in the World Tomorrow, and A Series of Unfortunate Events. I've seen
I haven't seen any of
5 of
those.
these films. Alfie is probably one of my favorite post-breakup films. Anytime I get a breakup with a girlfriend, Alfie is that film I go to. It's a really good. It's probably my favorite Jude Law film, hands down. Sky Captain: The World Tomorrow was big in 2004 because it was that film that was sort of post Sin City, and it was one of those films that used like nothing but like green screen backdrops, and it
Yeah,
was like
that's why I
meant to
didn't
be like
see it. It looked
filmed
really
like Sin
bad.
City. It was pretty friggin' bad, no lie. The Aviator, I think that was the one
That's the
with
one with Leo DiCaprio,
uh,
right?
yes, which
And Howard
that was
Hughes,
actually
the
one of
Howard
the
Hughes
last
movie.
films yeah, the Howard Hughes movie. That was actually one of the last films I saw with my grandfather, actually.
Oh.
Um, and Closer, I don't think
Like
I
that's a
saw
movie I could
Closer.
potentially see myself watching just to see the crazy story of Howard Hughes.
It was a good one, actually. It was a solid film, one of the better ones I saw that year. And A Series of Unfortunate Events, which was the Jim Carrey film as well. That one's super. Actually, The Series of Unfortunate Events has the best end credit scenes in any film I've ever seen, hands down, straight up, without a doubt. Final movie morsels, last 3. David O. Russell refers to this movie as his midlife crisis movie, and as such, it is his least favorite film he has directed, as it is many of ours.
Good. Hmm.
Uh, Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee did not care for the movie, stating it was as if somebody forgot to give the actors a script and said, "For the next 2 hours, just go out there and do something."
It's
He's
probably
not
the
wrong.
most sensible thing Mike Huckabee has ever said.
And the last movie morsel for this episode, and I feel like this one is appropriate. The Spanish title of the film literally translates to "strange coincidences," um, and that's basically what the connections of the episodes here at Hold Up have been as strange coincidences. We had Gattaca last episode with Jude Law. Now Jude Law just happened to be in I Heart Huckabees. We have these 3 films which were meant to be about environmentalism. The last one wasn't quite, but just enough to
Hack
lead
pokes fun
into
at it.
what will be,
It's kind of
which
the
will lead to.
anti-environmentalism movie.
It is. It is. It's
All
the
this movie says is
anti-environmentalist and
environmentalists are
focus
a
on
bunch of
marketing.
nerds.
Yeah, yeah, and it focuses
That's
on
all it's
marketing
saying.
and stuff like that. So, I
Yeah.
mean, before we get to, you know, wrapping this show up and going on to our coming attractions and stuff, I do want to
Rewatchability.
give a little rewatch. Oh yeah, rewatchability and holding up. See, I'm so over this film. I don't
Yeah, you're
even
over this movie.
rewatchability.
Rewatchability.
No,
No, don't even
no,
watch it
no.
once.
Don't watch it once. Just fuck it all entirely. Do
There's
not
a
watch
better
this
way to
film.
spend that time.
Yeah. Does it hold
Does it
up?
hold up?
No,
No,
it
it's
does
not a
not.
movie. To me, this
No,
is
it's not.
Southland Tales all over again. But I agree with
Honestly,
you, maybe worse. But
much worse than
like
Southland
that's
Tales.
still like a degrees that's like doesn't matter because
It's
they're both so
it's
bad. But
it's worse than Southland Tales because I Heart Huckabees is just empty garbage. At least Southland Tales,
yeah,
like there is a narrative
still
and
empty
there is
garbage.
a storyline and a pretty hard message if you look in for it.
There was more of a
But
story. I'll agree.
again, yeah. So like Southland Tales, I Heart Huckabees, just throw that in the bin. Do not watch this film. It is
We have our
terrible. And I
second
and
C
I feel
movie.
bad. I feel bad for picking this film as an environmental film to watch for this episode. There's so many
It
better
skewed our theme.
choices.
It kind of messed our theme
And
up.
that's
But
where
that
I want to
that's
kind of
something to
get
talk
in.
about as well.
That's where I kind of want to get at here. There's some honorable mentions.
Oh yeah.
there like I said, there's about 15 actual films. If you look up Wikipedia, out of those 15, there are maybe 3 or 4 that are worth watching. That being, let's see, well, Aaron
We may
Brockovich is
revisit
probably top
themes
of
one
that
day.
list.
Oh yeah.
Wally, Oka, Mother, and yeah, the other two. There's a future Rambo film about Wild Green Yonder.
There's
These
also
probably would
that
have been better films to watch about
Mark
Heart
Ruffalo
Huckabees.
movie with like about the water, but the gaseous water people can light on fire. That's a fairly new environmentalism movie.
I don't know if I heard that, but that being said, I'm going to give honorable mentions to these 3 films here. We got Woman at War, which is a Norwegian film about a woman is who gets approved for an adoption she applied to years after she applied for it. It's a Ukrainian film, uh, but in her earlier youth, she was a bit of a political, environmental activist, as she would, sabotage and disrupt the operations of an aluminum plant in Iceland and damage electricity pylons. Hence, you see the poster there. We got Wall-E,
Wall-E,
which is a classic
which was been
Disney
slotted
Pixar
in
film,
elsewhere. It's going to show
which
up on
has
this
been
show. We've
slotted in
slotted it,
elsewhere. Yeah,
and so is
Davin
Ferngully.
hasn't seen it. Yeah, Davin hasn't
I
seen
didn't. I
this
was
movie.
gonna pick
I have.
Ferngully for this,
Fern
but I
Gully, yeah.
realized I could slot it in somewhere else, so I did.
Yeah,
I
so we
really
were
want
gonna
to
have Fern
revisit that.
Gully or Wally, but like I said, I wanted to try and see something else because the main objective
Hmm.
of this podcast is to try and watch movies we
See new
haven't
stuff,
seen. I'd seen Wally, he hadn't. It would have been the better
and
choice.
I
It
want to
would
make
have been
other
a better
people watch
choice for
Medicine Man.
our cookies.
That's one of my goals as well.
And you know what? Sometimes we'll just get into that situation, which is totally cool. So yeah, those are the honorable mentions for
That's
actual
what you
really
did
good
with
environmental
Southland
films.
Tales, jerkface.
Hey, I'm telling you, it started with that god awful Tingler.
The Tingler was
But
awesome. Get out of here. All right.
not even.
Well, let's talk
Uh,
about our family here for a minute before we throw up the coming attractions.
well, hang
We have a
on. So
family
I
of
mean,
podcasters.
do we have a grading? Should
Oh,
we do a grading?
well,
Do
no.
we have the thing?
Oh, yeah, we do that, don't we? Okay, hold up. I just said hold up, and that's what our podcast is called. I didn't update this banner, so I'm just going to do that right quick. There we go. So we also do have, he's right, environmentalism movie ranking. So for me, it's Soylent Green, Medicine Man. I think we agree. Soylent Green, Medicine
Yeah,
Man, and then like
and then
again, Medicine Man,
Huckabees.
one of my favorite movies because it relaxes me, but it's not as good as Soylent Green. Soylent Green's a great movie. Everyone should go friggin' watch
So
that.
everybody should watch Soylent Green. That is a must watch. Medicine Man is if you're feeling like watching some Sean Connery for a laugh, that's probably one of
And
his
some beautiful
better
scenery and that type of
films.
thing.
Yeah, if you like forest movies, that don't feature Dwayne the Rock Johnson, that's probably a good choice. Just don't watch I Heart Huckabees. It's not worth the time. You'll save yourself at least an hour and 45 minutes. And I regret picking that film, honestly. So yeah, those are the rankings.
I'm still a little sour. We messed up our theme and it sucked. Yeah. So well, we agree on the rankings. How about that? Well, let's talk about our family, a united family, you might say.
Federation, if you will.
Podcasts, a federation. This one, United Federation of
United
Podcasts,
Federation
where
Podcasts.
we have X-Rated, the X-Men animated review show. We just finished season 3 on Tuesday. And in a couple weeks, we have an interview with Allison Seeley Smith, who plays Storm. So that's very exciting. As a great lover of Storm that I am, I'm very excited about that. And
Yeah,
also,
that's gonna be a
well,
good
look,
time.
we have Live Long in podcasts where we cover all types of Star Trek everything. Um, Over in the command division there, they do the reviews, show reviews, and there's Star Trek Radio Theater. And in my little science
Yeah,
division here at Locutors of Trek, we do Class L probes. We have a Geek Towel challenge going on Sunday, where the two Daves will face off for Klingon superiority. The last Geek Towel was neck and neck. The Dave Mater won that by a single point, a single honor point. Hosted by
single
a
honor point.
Klingon. Yeah. Um, Hosted by Galrod, son of Galron. A great host, a great Klingon host. And also KBBL, my new Simpsons podcast. Check that out every Friday. We're only on episode 2 of The Simpsons coming this Friday. We opened with the Christmas special, as Simpsons does, last week. Well, that's fun. It's just me and a couple of buddies who love to quote The Simpsons and laugh at how timelessly hilarious it is. You like to do that? Join us. What is
I
this?
might be into that.
Oh, that's a cool logo. Where did that come from? Huh. And also, Trivial Debates. Check that out.
In fact,
Yeah, we just had one of
we
those.
just had Trill Bits. Yep,
Yep, I
the
hosted the
music
last
one. It
one.
was
I'm a
heated
contestant in the
debate.
next one,
In
which is the
fact,
Christmas.
word is, I believe the next one coming up is
Yep, there it
Christmas
is.
episode, Saturday, December 17th. You're going to be a contestant with Mox
Couple of young
and
fellas. Young
what was the other gentleman's name?
Sterling,
Who is
Max and
Sterling?
Sterling.
Yes, Max and Sterling. I thought it said Mox, but
Yep.
it's gonna be a Christmas episode Saturday, December 17th at 9 a.m. Eastern time. You can find it at YouTube/Trivial Debates. So you definitely want to check that out.
Where did this X-rated logo come from?
Andre sent that to me because I have to try and
Oh,
animate that. So I uploaded it up to
ooh,
there because I'm
I'm
trying
gonna
to
use
update.
that.
Because last time I watched your episode, you're like, I've tried to go through your KBBL and get rid of all the old logos, and I'm updating the new banners and branding and
I
stuff.
see.
So that way you don't have a choice to use the old ones. You're not going to rely on old hats. You're going to see the new ones and be like, ooh, and pull
Like the
them up.
Graphic Histories
Like Graphic
podcast. Check that out.
Histories.
Andre
Yes.
just interviewed John Russo, who co-wrote The Night of the Living Dead, one of the great films of that era. And next one is with Jason Liu. Yeah, that's this Friday, I believe. Yeah, who's a writer for Chapter House Marvel, other things, doing a Madrox story recently. And also check out Super Mater Brothers, where you get your reality show review fix. They break it down. Break it down over there.
All things in Survivor Land,
Yeah, yeah,
the nitty gritty,
Survivorland,
if you
Big
will.
Brother Land. Yeah, they get into that sort of stuff over there. That's our federation. Um, Coming attractions. Here's what's coming up on the next episode of Hold Up, a Movie Podcast.
Did we upload the? Okay, wait.
No,
Sorry.
we
I
might
may
not
have.
have coming attractions. I was looking for them.
No. We do. I just completely, entirely forgot to upload them and prepare them. So just give me but a moment here.
I'll talk
That
more about
should.
our other podcasts in the meantime. Well, we almost got her down to 2 hours now, Murphy, if you don't count the coming attractions. We're getting this. We're tightening this ship.
Let me just. I swear I did
Yeah,
that.
so
I know I did that.
Well, look,
Oh,
here we have the poster for the next one. Our next one is the Christmas
oh,
special.
I knew I forgot to
Yeah,
do something.
yeah. No worries. We don't have coming attractions this week. It doesn't matter because you'll see all these trailers next episode.
Yeah, we're gonna
We're
have
gonna talk
Gremlins, The
the
Apartment,
Gremlins.
and
Yeah,
Tokyo Godfather.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that's gonna be on the Christmas episode, which should be December the 15th or 16th. Thanks for watching us here at Hold Up a Movie podcast, where we talk about if movies hold up. I'm your host, Chris Murphy, World Mind. This is Davan Skelhorn. Thank you for joining us and enjoy the movies.
Yeah, enjoy the movies. Oh wait, did you get rid of that one too?